So we are officially back. We're at the end of the year, technically about 5 minutes out from my side before it officially becomes 2025. So what I'd like to do at the start, or technically end, depending on how you look at it, of the year, I'd like to go through all the games that we played. We get to share memories and stuff on stream and just talk about in general where we're planning to go into the new year itself. But I put together a soundtrack as I always do. I'm always curious about chat's reaction. We're gonna put on probably the most iconic song of the year first. To have fun with that, chat. It'll be the PTSD song for chat. But yeah, all the games we went through. I'm gonna list them all out, so you get to think about them. If you've seen them, you get to make comments. We'll talk a little bit about stuff that was off stream in particular. But this year, 2024, I could say that for 5 more minutes. We did PSO, Terranigma, we did the PSP Genso Suikoden game, we did Justice for All and Trials and Tribulations for Phoenix Wright, we did Dungeon Drafters, we played technically a couple runs of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Final Fantasy Adventure, Secret of Mana, The Grand Stream Saga, Trials of Mana, both the remake and SNES version, Wild Arms 1 and 2, Legend of Mana, a little bit of Vampire Survivors, Chrono Trigger DS, Dicey Dungeons, Secrets of Grindia, technically was a return, Radical Dreamers, Chrono Cross, Ghost Trick, Dawn of Sorrow, Disgaea 1, Aslan Tears of the Earth, and Cult of the Lamb were the last couple of games that we played. So what I'd like to do is I like to talk, at least in terms of what games were the best and worst. Although, I don't know what year some of these are from, like Etria Mystery Dungeon. Not sure why I did that there. That's kind of funny. Move this over here. Yeah, a lot of games. So we like to talk about different topics. I'm going to clear up the text here since we don't need this here at the moment. Yeah, Tales of Fantasia, Castlevania 64. That's a throwback. I was going to say, that alone was already a good memory. So we'll say, let's do the best worst party. And chat can answer from their own standpoint, you know, whether it was on stream or off stream games. What had the most memorable party for good or bad reasons? This one's kind of an interesting one. We didn't have like a ton of super strong entries in particular for the good ones. So I think by default it just has to go to Chrono Trigger. I don't think any of the other games we played this year had like a super solid one. Like technically Disgaea 1 was decent, but I don't know if I would call them like super lovable per se. Whereas I feel like most of the characters, when it came from Chrono Cross, are extremely memorable. They're generally likable start to finish. So I think the quality over quantity applies there. Army of Generics from Dicey Dungeons. Yeah. Give me 1 second as I reset something. Okay. That's better. Yeah, like there were some individual characters, and that's where I'm thinking, you know, we'll talk maybe about NPC design as its own category. But in terms of like what party felt the most cohesive, it would be Chrono Trigger. Which one had the worst cast of party members? Which ones just made me really question life and existence for them to be together? I think there's only one entry on this list that really counts. There's a couple of them where I didn't like the game per se, but the party was not the issue. I'm gonna go Radical Dreamers. I'm gonna be real with you. I was rooting for the villain to win in Radical Dreamers. That was... I mean, I guess you could technically include the Phoenix Wright support cast a little bit, but I consider them not like a party in a traditional sense. But yeah, the characters that were actually our party members in Radical Dreamers were horrendous individuals and probably should be locked up for crimes. I'm gonna go with that. I'm pretty sure they should be jailed for various crimes. And not because they're thieves, but because of their other, we'll say interesting choices. So I'm curious if chat has any difference of opinion for this year. But I think that'll do it for that particular category. Now, kind of along the same vein, so there are characters that are not necessarily in your party, or at least don't play like an active role. They're more of the supporting cast. These are potentially the people you interact with in the towns, that are more than just townsperson A, townsperson B, that they put a little more life into. And honestly, this one is interesting. I actually have to think about it as well. What supporting cast characters did I actually like in the game? So like, we'll just kind of notch them off one by one, because even I'm not sure how I feel about this. I'm telling you right now, I'm pretty sure I know which one has the worst supporting cast. We'll just jump straight to that decision. It's Justice for All. Phoenix Wright 2 was terrible. Just to be real with you, chat, those had some of the worst unlikable supporting characters as well as NPCs. Not even close. It's not even close for me. There are so many characters in that game where I'm like, no. Every character there was a train wreck. But for best, this one's kind of interesting. Oh, man. Secret of Mana had decent characters, but I wouldn't call them the best. Grand Stream had some interesting characters, but I don't think they deserve best. Wild Arm 1, I guess, had decent casts, but I don't feel like I was involved with them as much. Honestly, I might be going back to Chrono Trigger. I feel like most of the characters you talk to in Chrono Trigger are memorable and generally likable, if not very goofy. Ooh, or where'd it go to Ghost Trick? I do like the different characters in Ghost Trick. Maybe Ghost Trick? You know what, I'm willing to put Ghost Trick there. I feel like most of the characters are named and they're all very quirky and exaggerated. I think I'm gonna give this one actually to Ghost Trick. Oh, I think I'm hiding the emote thing. Rip show us Missile. Missile no longer shown. Yeah, I would say it has to go to Ghost Trick, because it's one of those things where you are only playing with the dog, the Sissel, and sometimes the other character, but it's more about the trials of the detectives, plural, and all the things they go through. And I think they did a pretty good job from supporting cast perspective. They're very memorable designs, like Cabanella's weird dance, or even like the assassins are very weird and quirky in their own ways. I would say they're mostly memorable, but I think they kind of win it from a actually interesting standpoint. But let's fine-tune it a little more. Sauce's Hedge. Let's talk about the best and worst character designs. I'm tempted to leave Ghost Trick where it is, because honestly, every character is super memorable. You know, the visuals of the characters are very much there. But I think... Actually, you know what's funny? I think it's going to be a repeat win. I was going to say I'm going to change my mind on something, and I'm like, no. I actually still think Justice for All had some of the most hideous designs. Whether it was the guy constantly itching and scratching. I don't think I could really place anybody else other than Justice for All there. I dislike them for different reasons. I think Ghost Trick... I would be willing to maybe give this category to some of the designs of Chrono Cross. I could see that as like a runner-up. Because I do actually like the NPC design, or even some of the PC design within Chrono Cross. But man, Justice for All, I don't want to see that game anymore. Oh, by the way, Happy New Year. So I'm definitely just kind of to some of those characters, to be real with you. Let's go to the next category. The best worst villains. Who do you think had the best villains of all the games that we played this year? And as I said before, if you want to add in games that you played on the side, feel free to chime in. But, oh man, worst? Who had the worst villains, the best villains? Oh man. That's tough. I'm thinking it through. I mean, I guess I kind of like the Cult of the Land villains, but I consider them a repeat category. So from my own categorization, if I played it in a previous year, like it's, you know, I did a first playthrough one year, a second playthrough another, I generally don't select those. So for the most part, I'm going to ignore Call of the Land here. Bill Ain, oh my gosh. Who had ones that were like genuinely likable? Like Final Fantasy Adventure was okay. Secret of Mana was okay. Grand Stream Saga was okay. I'm trying Trials of Mana was worse. I didn't care about the villains in those games at all. Honestly, the remake Trials of Mana villains might be some of the bottom tier ones. Which, like, I don't know, maybe... Yeah, it's like, maybe Chrono Trigger again with the villains? I'm just trying to think, right? Because I wouldn't pick Chrono Cross for this category. Dawn of Sorrow was okay. Disgaea 1 villains are very hit or miss. I mean, Chrono Trigger had, like, a lot of reoccurring villains. Like, not even support casts, like, you know, talking about the family members or the kings or the queens. Honestly, I think it goes here, because it has, like, what, Ozzy? Ozzy's a pretty memorable character. It has, I'm terrible with names, but it has, like, the very fourth wall breaking noble character that was from the futuristic city 10,000 years in the past. He goes like, stop that music when you go to board the ship, for example, because it tries to play the hero theme for him and things like that. And instead he wants the villain theme being played. It has like a lot of gimmicky enemies too. Like I like the Muramasa fight, for example. So I'm willing to give it both from a mechanic standpoint and design standpoint. There's enough villains I can remember in Chrono Trigger. I would say probably the ones that are more on the miss side would probably be like, I was gonna say Azazel, but the dinosaur people I didn't really care about. But other than that, I like most of the villains that were there. Magus turning from like from villain to hero to villain, however you want to view it. I think also kind of falls into that category as one of the more memorable characters in the game. Now, who hands down had one of the most unliked and vile villains? Who, like, both from game design or maybe even from like visuals, who did I just not like as a villain? Who just did not work? It's tempting to put Wild Arms 2. It is real tempting to put Wild Arms 2. I'm not gonna lie. They're very one note all the way through. I think some of it has to do with the translation issues. You know what? I can't even say it's Gensu Suikoden, because I can at least name those villains. I'm going to give it to Terranigma. I think the bosses... Oh, no, bosses is a different category. I think Terranigma is going to win both of these. So, I think Terranigma has some of the worst villains. They're not very memorable. You're more fighting, like, forces of nature. And then, like... They don't really interact with the plot in a way that's kind of interesting. Like, can you even name a villain at all in Terranigma? Like, this is an RPG. I don't think I can name a single villain in Terranigma, and we played through that game. There was, like, what? The really annoying girl character that was psychic? Whatever her name was? Like, whatever the doctor's name was in that game, question mark, that led the cult. I don't remember. I'm gonna have to just put Terranigma from that standpoint. I could at least name villains from these other games, whether it was like the Beast King in Trials of Mana, or it was like getting Seventh Mooned in Wild Arms. Like, there's at least something I could name in the other games where I'm like, I remember them and I didn't like them. So I think from a villain standpoint, I think I'm gonna give it to Terranigma. Yeah, Salt and Pepper from Chrono Cross. Happy New Year, Granted Knife. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, okay, now let's talk about the one that's a bit more clear. So, from a plot standpoint, we have villains, but what about actual bosses? I think Wild Arms 2 or Terranigma. I think this one's really hard for me to choose. I think I have to put both. Welcome, Koi Sheppy. Hope you're doing well. I think Terranigma had some of the worst bosses I have ever fought, as did Wild Arms 2. It is too hard, I think, for me to choose which one I think was worse. But in terms of boss design, I think I gotta give this to Chrono Trigger again. It had some of the best boss design of all time. It is really hard to justify moving Chrono Trigger from that list. Like, listen, we've played many RPGs. This is still probably some of the best, even across multiple years. Yeah, we get Regeneration, yeah. Just, oh, the boss mechanics in there were just so bad. Fortunately, I don't have too much to say on this category. Let's talk about this one. Which one actually had the best plot? Which had the worst plot? Let's clear these. I'm willing to put Wild... You know what? We're gonna put Wild Arms 2 as a placeholder. Maybe we'll talk me down from this one. But which games do I think had a solid plot start to finish? Terranigma's plot went off the rails. Wild Arms 2 was just never good. See, there's like a point where I at least enjoyed Terranigma's plot. I don't know if there was ever a point I liked Wild Arms 2. Like, in terms of plot. It just started off on the worst points. Counterpoint, baby daughter clone. I think that might go into like a memorable moment, but that was somehow that was not the worst. Somehow not the worst moment in the plot. Chrono Cross plot was also really convoluted. I'm kind of willing to put Chrono Cross here, to be honest with you. That game's plot was a definite mess. That Chrono Cross should have been like easy last place, but it's kind of whatever. How am I doing? Ask Koi Chef B. I'm doing okay. I'm still kind of sick, but we're just doing a little bit of retrospective as we come into 2025. And what game do I think had the best plot? I do like Chrono Trigger, but I'm willing to state something other than Chrono Trigger. I'm just thinking it through. Actually, you know what? I like Ghost Trick's plot more. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, like Chrono Trigger I like, but there are points where you are just kind of aimless. And given that I played the game before, a lot of that didn't happen on stream. But yeah, I think it has to go to Ghost Trick. Just start to finish, it was just very solid. It definitely is not going to the Phoenix Wright games, let me tell you right now. It is absolutely not going there. Okay, let's do another category. Soundtrack. Ooh. Ooh, Final Fantasy Adventure reminding me how much I like the soundtrack. That's such a tough call. I mean, like, the easy cop-out answer is to say Chrono Trigger for best soundtrack. Honestly, we're kind of listening to one of my favorite nostalgic soundtracks of all time. I'm willing to put Final Fantasy Adventure here. What great timing to convince me to put it. Do that instead. Which one had just an awful soundtrack? Probably Wild Arms 2 specifically. I think the other ones generally had good soundtracks, like Chrono Cross. Chrono Cross would... I'd even say Chrono Cross, honestly. Chrono Cross's music is like one of its few redeeming factors. Phoenix Wright is good, but I don't think it's on the same level as like a Chrono Trigger. I do think if this was Phoenix Wright 1, I would have put Phoenix Wright, but honestly, I don't like the other two Phoenix Wright soundtracks that much. Call it controversial, I think they have kind of the worst objection music, like Pursuing the Truths. I just feel like it's just worse than the original version. I don't feel that way about all of the later ones, but it just feels like most of the songs are a lot weaker. Like, are they bad songs? No. But are they anywhere near the same level as the first game? No. It's not even close. So yeah, I think this is like one of the few categories I'm willing to put Final Fantasy Adventure up. I do like that game despite its flaws. Yeah, well, yeah, removing Chrono Cross for worst soundtrack, no way. I think it has to go to Wild Arms 2. I'm looking over the list. Like, I love Legend of Mana's soundtrack, but I still don't think it's as good as Chrono Trigger's or Chrono Cross's. Wild Arms 1, at least, I think had very memorable songs, but I don't know if I can name anything in Wild Arms 2 that I enjoyed. Grand Stream Saga had good like environmental music, but it wasn't like overwhelming. But I can't call that our worst soundtrack. I don't think that makes any sense. Terra Enigma, as much as I did not like that game, I think it was there. I'm willing to maybe put the Gensu Suikoden game there. I think I'm willing to state that. Honestly, like, other than the remixes of the original Suikoden songs, I don't think I could name you a single song. Like, when I had to go back and pick some for the soundtracks we're listening to, which chat might be listening to and realize that the songs are from each of the games that we've played, in order, more or less, from start to finish, I had the most trouble picking out a Suikoden song. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, I like the character select theme, and like the victory theme, and that was it in the whole soundtrack. Everything else is like ultra generic. And I feel that way about Wild Arms too, where there's like some hits, but they're like mostly miss, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, can you remember a single song in the PSP Suikoden game? I was like, wow, I don't even think I could tell you the music that was playing when we learned about the bathtubs. Like, listen. Like, listen, I don't remember the music at all in that game, which is not a good sign. I'm willing to very easily slot that one in there. Yeah, I don't remember. So let's go into, you know, overall soundtracks are one thing, but what do we think had the best/worst songs? I think it's still Wild Arms 2, to be honest with you. I don't think Suikoden had a bad song per se, but there were some very annoying songs in Wild Arms 2. Ooh, what do I think is the best song of the year? I really like Legend of Mana. Chrono Trigger has some really good songs. Astalon has some of my favorites. Oh man, this is tough. Just a single song. I'm actually thinking about this, so I'm ruling out Phoenix Wright. Terra Enigma even has one of my favorite songs. This is tough, chat. Normally we don't have this many like solid soundtracks, so trying to pick between like 12 games is actually hard. I could see almost any game being named here for favorite song. Like, I like Secret of Mana, but I wouldn't put it there. I like Grand Stream Saga's soundtrack overall, but I wouldn't put it there. Some of the Trials of Mana remixes are really good, and they're actually better than the originals. Legend of Mana was really good. This is tough. I have a lot of nostalgia for Final Fantasy Adventure, so I'm willing to say Final Fantasy Adventure or Trials of Mana. I do think the remake soundtracks are really good for this one. Also, I made a note when I got to this point that for some reason I could only find the 10-minute loop of the sound of the song, so I'm gonna move forward. But there's just like a lot of iconic songs in the game series we played, which is good. So I like that this year it was a bit harder for me to choose. There's just some years where it's a total blowout, but I think this one is more interesting. oh, Chad, I was about to remove Wild Arms 2 when talking about worst level design, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna delete that there. I don't think I'm gonna move that. I'm just gonna leave it there. Wild Arms 2 had the worst levels. I don't even think it's close. Like, Terra Enigma had some really annoying levels. Don't get me wrong, like Stealth Mechanic or whatever. But Wild Arms 2, holy, what a train wreck. That whole last half of the game. The final dungeon was terrible. Everything else was so bad. This level design. I like Secret of Mana, but their level design isn't that great. Final Fantasy Adventure levels aren't that great. Chrono Trigger dungeons are actually pretty good. Chrono Cross dungeons are also actually not that bad. Gensu Suikoden's out. Their dungeons were not good. There's no way I'm putting Terra Enigma. There's one of those, like, if... No, I can't put Terra Enigma there. I'm too annoyed at Terra Enigma to consider it. I think there's just like little things that rule it out. Like, I like the expansiveness of like the cave levels in Terranigma, for example, and then they ruin it by being like, here are bubbles you could use to dive underwater, and then you dive underwater, and you're like, okay, I now know what that looks like. And then they show you another set of bubbles, only this time it's a monster and it kills you instantly. So it's like, I don't like that level design, to be real with you. I'm willing to put Terranigma potentially in worst. I did like Grand Stream Saga dungeon design for the most part. They were fairly simple, but you know what? I'm willing to put Grand Stream Saga as like an alternate. Disgaea 1 technically has a lot of level design, but I wouldn't say I'm ever in love with it at any point. Ooh, would I put Wild Arms 1? Wild Arms 1 had some memorable levels. Chrono Cross was pretty... Chrono Trigger or Grand Stream Saga, I think most of the levels were fine. Yeah, Disgaea I'm not, like, in love with the levels. Like, they are present, and they have some personality. But they're also very basic. But they get better as you go in the series, but... They're like above average, yes, but not like anything to write home about. I'm willing to say I liked exploring Grand Stream Saga levels. And Chrono Trigger, I think like the monster placement was really good. I think I'm happy with that. Wild Arms 2 might be in that worst category for a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. Oh no, we're talking about which games had the worst mechanics? Oh no. I'm willing to say maybe Wild Arms 1. I did actually like most of the stuff that was in Wild Arms 1. Arguably, I could put Disgaea here. Also, PSO opened up by accident. Give me a second. It'll realize that I told it to close at some point. Ooh, Ghost Trick. Oh, you know what? That's true. I'm willing to do Ghost Trick Wild Arms 1. I think I like their take on like the traditional RPG system. And I did like that you explored the level with all the tools. And I thought that was like one of the stronger parts of RPGs. I like that when we're in like Mystic Quest. Wild Arms 2, you can stay there. You're not dismissed from your post as worst. So I think we're slowly seeing one of the games edge out a little bit in terms of which one was the worst. So I'm willing to say that. I like the mechanics of Ghost Trick. That's a good point. So let's talk about how the game made us feel. Was the game fun to play? I'm willing to put Ghost Trick up there for the most part. I think otherwise, what was kind of fun to play? Even if the game itself wasn't super great. I guess Trials of Mana for the wrong reasons, but... Oh, Astalon. Let's do Astalon here. I actually liked Astalon. Tears of the Earth. That game was really fun to play. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that was probably one of the smoothest kind of roguelikes that we played in a while. I keep wanting to remove Wild Arms 2, and I'm like, you're at least getting somebody. you're at least getting a friend here this time. Man, Terranigma felt so bad to play. It's one of those ones where the game design either felt like it just wasn't tested enough, or it was just hateful. You just pick one. That game was pretty much, once you went into the surface world, the game became unplayable. Phoenix Wright 2, that is a fair point. That game had some bad game feel. Walking around aimlessly was not great. We'll say it's a three-way tie. I think I had the most fun playing Astalon. Like, Chrono Trigger's really solid, don't get me wrong. But, like, in terms of, like, engaging me on multiple levels, I think Astalon is the clear winner there. I don't even think it's close. Like, stall for longer. Oh my gosh, yeah, it was so bad. Okay, so we got to come up with memorable. What game to you was the most memorable? It could be for good or bad reasons. Honestly, we might just leave that three-way tie right where it is. I don't think it's moving. I think between Wild Arms 2, absolutely horrendous level design and the nonsensical dialogue, the escape ship sequence that went on for like 20 something minutes where it decided to put a puzzle because that's where it thought it should put a puzzle. Terranigma's weird baby plot, or us killing everybody in the castle, or the random difficulty spike of the doll, or any of the nonsense that happened at the ending, or getting trolled by the lion cub. Oh man, Phoenix Wright 2, clown case. Do I need a clown case and final case? Any part of that. Oh man. I would say Aslan is fun, but it's not as memorable, I would say, overall. I think I would have to give it to Ghost Trick in a good way. Yeah, baby daughter clone is somehow not on this list. Like that is how wild the bad list is. That Chrono Cross is not in there, ironically. I don't think it had its one moment, but I don't think it's on the same tier as like us breaking one of the protagonists of Wild Arms 2, or like the absolute tomfoolery of level design. Like when I climbed the vine and then it turns out after like 3 screens, if I had taken the other one, it didn't go there. There were so many moments in the game that I'm gonna remember a long time. That stupid 12-minute Yeti fight that just wasted time. I'm gonna remember it for all the wrong reasons. The stupid fish fight where you got like 1 or 2 hits total and then it was like 8 seconds or 10 seconds of waiting. Absolutely horrendous. I'm almost willing to put Terranigma before Wild Arms. Like, if Terranigma was as long as Wild Arms 2, it would be no contest. But I think it had such concentrated evil. I think I'm willing to put Terranigma right there. It had like one good moment before the light world where there was hope, and that was in 2023, and 2024 was nothing but trolling. Terrell's Unchecked Ego, that's a good one-off moment. I think Ghost Trick had a lot of characters that chat liked, so I think it helps that it had really strong supporting cast and NPC design, so I think that kind of plays into its memorability, but soundtrack definitely helps it there. I think I'm willing to say that that's where I want to go there. Ooh, now here's a good one, chat. Which one exceeded expectations going into it, and which ones definitely failed more than others? Well, unfortunately, I played Phoenix Wright 2 before, so I knew about it going into it. So maybe for chat, that was one of the more disappointing games. But given that I played through most of it and it made me quit the series originally, I can't say I had expectations for the game to be good. But I can say after playing Wild Arms 1, Wild Arms 2 was so disappointing we did not even do Wild Arms 3. Maybe we'll consider it next year. We'll see, I guess. What game exceeded expectations? I think the problem is I played most of these games. So like Wild Arms I remember liking. I played through all of the Mana games, so I don't think I had expectations. I think the only one that would have exceeded expectations would probably be Astalon. I think that game was surprisingly decent, yeah. I think by definition, because I mean I played literally everything that was on this list before off stream, minus Trials and Tribulations. But I think at that point my expectations were so shot from Justice for All that I was like, I don't know what to expect anymore. Yeah, glad Ghost Trick made people happy. That was one of those ones where I'm like, oh, I'm saving it up for Halloween. I know people would like this game. Yeah, the Phoenix Wright second game after the first game was brutal. So I totally get why people would put that there. I'm not even disagreeing with it. But again, unfortunately, I played a little bit before. Ooh, I'm bringing back a category. The best worst. What game was funny in a good way, buggy? I'm gonna say that's easily Trials of Mana. No contest. I had so much fun breaking that game. Which ones were unfun and buggy? You know what, Wild Arms 2 and Terranigma, you can stay right there. Like, wait a minute. Actually, chat, wait a minute, actually. Yeah. Yeah, they can stay there. I don't think anything is moving on this list. I'm like, yeah. I mean, like, the really whack stealth detection in Terranigma, if that was intended, I have no idea what was going on. That stuff made no sense. Yeah, like, there were technically annoying bugs in Astalon. I don't know if Wild Arms 2 specifically had bugs. I'm just thinking about it. It had, like, bad things that seemed intentional. It might actually have to go to Astalon here. I think they had, like, the most detrimental ones. Technically, I could put Cult of the Lamb here. If I included games from other years, it'd be Cult of the Lamb. No contest, no question. Cult of the Lamb, if you are considering it on your list, is the winner. But if we're not considering from previous years, we could go there. Technically, it was a new expansion, so I'm willing to at least run Cult. Because it was something we didn't play before, technically. I think I'm willing to put it in the category here. Yeah, here's one of the memorable songs from Wild Arms 1. As soon as I was picking a song out, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing the intro. Use Krisha so much during Astalon. Aw. Yeah, like the stupid, like, if you accidentally go through the door in a one-way, but don't realize it was a one-way, you could get stuck. Those were kind of annoying. Like, that actually had, like, gameplay detrimental downsides. I think this might be the first time Wild Arms has left the bottom category, so congratulations, Wild Arms 2. You redid it. Oh, boy. Well, chat, I think we're gonna immediately put Wild Arms 2 on this list. Which games would I never, ever consider playing again? Well, that's easy. I don't know if I'd replay Trials of Mana. I like Disgaea 1, but I'm ready to play another Disgaea. I would say maybe a Chrono Trigger? I would be willing to play again in the future. Like, maybe a different version of the game, but, like, still the game, technically. Like, I like Final Fantasy Adventure, but I'm not going to replay it. Secret of Mana did not hold up. Grand Stream Saga, I was fine with where it is. I don't really want to replay it. I didn't hate it, but it was like, it was fine. I think it has to go to a Chrono Trigger here. Yeah, Secrets of Grindia just, like, barely doesn't get mentioned in any category, because it's one of those things where it was like, ugh. Technically, Dicey... I'm willing to put Dicey here, like, asterisk. I do not want to replay the Jesters. We could play many things in Dicey Dungeons. I do not want to do the Jesters for whatever it was ever again. Just never, ever. There were some really unfun ones. I'm glad that we got to the ones that are better, but man, there are some categories that really dragged. I'll put a little asterisk there. Here we go. See, chat will probably recognize the music. Okay, so now it comes down to the ultimate category. What was Game of the Year? What do we feel, based off of the things that were picked today, what was the best overall game? What was the worst game? I mean, like, the bottom contenders are all here. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not willing to put Dicey there for worst game of the year. Man, that's... Like, I feel like Chrono Trigger is just one of those games where I went in with, like, unsure expectations, and the fact that it still holds up is kind of amazing. I don't think I could realistically put anything else there. Ghost Trick could possibly go there, but I think just overall, Chrono Trigger is just an amazing game, start to finish. But I could see Ghost Trick in there. But yeah, this one's hard. What do I think is the worst between Phoenix Wright 2, Wild Arms 2, and Terranigma? I think if we're looking at pure game length, it has to go to Wild Arms 2. I would... It's just so long of a game. Oh. Yeah, we never went back and finished Evo. I didn't include it on the list because we kind of only partially did it. I guess technically I could put it on the list. I think it has... You know what? I think just due to sheer number of times it was here, I think it has to go to Wild Arms 2. That game was, like, borderline unplayable, I'd be real with you. Yeah. Evo I should have probably put on this list, but it's fine. Maybe one day we'll go back and actually play it for real, start to finish. And we'll put it in the mechanics and stuff. Okay. So now I think we're done with most of the categories. So now let's purely talk about stuff that was off-stream. What do I feel was my favorite off-stream game? What was chat's games that they played this year that they liked? I would say best for me... I did Judgment... Oh, was Judgment 2024 or 2023? I'm gonna put Yakuza 7 as my safe bet. I didn't play many games off stream, but I've been liking it so far. I haven't finished it yet, but so far it's not as bad as I thought it was, and I'm liking it more than Lost Judgment. So I'm like, I think by definition, I think it has to go there. Worst one is easy for me. Lost Judgment was such a disappointment. I was kind of struggling to beat that, and I like Yakuza games. Gravity Circuit and Evilings, good to know. Yeah, it's just one of those things where I like the soundtrack. Yeah, Lost Judgment was just not good. I like the combat, but man, that story just dragged through the dirt. I mean, like, without going into, like, super spoilers to give chat an idea of where it was, it has some massive pacing issues, both in terms of plot as well as mechanics. They introduced a stealth minigame in an action series. It goes about where you think it would, and it just drags everything to a halt when you come into that. There's a lot of really unfun chase sequence mini games that are in there. I would say the best way to describe Lost Judgment is that they had 12 or 15 minigame ideas, and then they decided to build a game around those minigames, but not actually give any thought as to if those games were good or if there should be some other focus like plot. I mean, like, if you take it by face value, your character goes kind of from like a respected prosecutor detective kind of thing, it's kind of weird, into I'm a teacher at a school, and that absolutely kills the pace of the game. So I don't have anything positive to say about Lost Judgment. It was hard to get through some of those mini games and pretend that I cared about any of the things that happened in the side story stuff. I feel like over 50% of the game was the side story, and the side story was just not good at all. I couldn't even name you any NPCs from any of the even just like the casual quests, let alone the minigame stuff. Just not good. Worst for me, Sonic Superstars. The answer is I played one stage, like 5 breaking bugs, and 20 supposed to say like complete that one stage. Yeah, Lost Judgment, if it wasn't for the combat, I actually probably would have not even beaten the game. Yakuza 7 is interestingly the same way. I don't like the combat, but unlike Lost Judgment, I actually like the story, and I like the music a lot more for the most part. So I feel more compelled, but both of them are not the strongest of entries. And as I said before, I don't play many games off stream. Like, I think that's literally like 1 of 4 that I played. So most of the stuff that we play ends up on stream. Anyway, I think that covers that. I guess best and worst shows that we watched? That's a tough one. I watched some bad shows. Like, oh, speaking of bad, Lavos is coming out. Lavos is gonna fight the bad shows for us. I'd say, I mean, there were a lot of like Netflix one-offs. I think Netflix just generically loses the category for me. Like, I know Chris and I watched some Transformer shows off stream, but I don't even think those were the worst shows that I watched, even at their low points. I watched some bad shows this year. I'm just gonna put Netflix. Honestly, there were so many things where I tried it, and I was just like, this is just horrendous. Yeah, Big Cannon Go. Basically, everything I tried this year on Netflix, whether it was an animated series or a live action, I don't think I got through like a single episode, so it's kind of hard to say. Like, the closest I came to like series that I watched through but wouldn't really recommend, like I tried Squid Game out, for example, and I'm like, I really like this. I like gamble shows or like the high stakes stuff, but I really just didn't get into like, because they came out with season 2 at the start of, you know, this recording, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll see how it goes, and I watched it and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna watch this again. So there were so many contenders, as I said before. There's even one-offs in there. I think I watched one that was about like a shape-shifting girl that's mistaken for a monster. Like there's a lot of like one-offs in Netflix that I watch, but honestly, almost everything I tried this year in Netflix was a big fail. It's not as good as when I was watching like Link Click with Chris, which unfortunately I don't think was 2024. That would be the easy the easy one that I enjoyed. Unfortunately, I haven't been writing down what shows I'd been watching, so trying to remember which ones were 2024 is harder. So now I have to think with Chris, what did we last watch? Because I tend to watch a lot of stuff with him off stream. I thought Link Click 2 was end of last year, but I could, if it counts, I would put Link Click 2 every year because it was the best show of all time. Oh, Spy Family. Ugh. Ugh. Oh man, I think I told you I didn't even feel like watching. I was like, we had started watching that together. I got to the end of that season 2 and I was like, I don't want to rewatch it with you. I saw it while I was bored. I'm like, I do number 8, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of weird putting that as the, oh, you know what, actually, oh damn, I wish I would put it, I was gonna say it'd be between Free Rid and Link Click 2. I think that would be the most accurate thing, because I did technically start rewatching it again this year with somebody else, so we're gonna put a technicality. It would have to be Free Rid or whatever. I'm gonna put Free Rid for now. Oh, works. Yeah, I think you would like Free Rid, Chris, but it's also a very depressing and very slow-paced show. So we'll see how it goes. It's up there with all those other happy shows that I've shown Chris before. But I think that covers it. I think everything to Netflix failed. Whether it was watching weird DC spin-off stuff or, yeah, just in general, I think everything failed. So I don't even have to encapsulate it. I tried like 8 or 9 shows on Netflix and I could not get through an episode. If you want to count only series that I watched start to finish versus like movies, it would have to be Squid Game. I was very disappointed when I finished it. I liked the premise, I didn't like the execution. Disappointed. Okay, so I guess that's it for the categories. So now we have a question. I can hide the categories. These aren't really applicable anymore. Oops, did not copy what I did. Try that again. Maybe I hit cancel or something weird. So as we come to the wrap-up of the retrospective, what I like to do is kind of look back in, did we achieve our goals? What did we miss out on? Where do we think we could have some improvements? So I think we didn't rotate like a ton of emotes. That was one of the things I wrote down from last year. We did add new emotes though, so we did fine there. I didn't end up doing that much with better TTT TTV emotes, unfortunately. So I'll consider that a miss. Like, we did refine some of our emotes. Like, we got a lot more than I think I was expecting because of the fact that we could get those extra ones if we let Twitch pretend that it shows the announcements and stuff like that. I was talking about refining the weekends for more one-offs on Saturdays and Sundays, and I would say that happened. Saturday night ended up being a lot of one-shots, like we did Pathfinder at one point. We did, I think Red Dragon Inn was also 2024. So we did a couple tabletop simulator stuff, so expect like a couple of more of those, not like a whole ton of them. And I feel like for some of the, you know, whether it's a short game versus long game, the weekend has mostly been a lot of those one-shots. So I think that is kind of where I wanted it to be. The new season of Link Click just started the other day. Ooh, that's good to know. So I wrote down tabletop one-shot. That definitely happened. Oh, I let Chris down. I wrote it down. I totally forgot. Oops. Numnu. I don't have a Numnu emote. I think I just couldn't find a good picture of it, but I could probably add Numnu in general. Oops. I think I remember trying to find one, but I don't think it did anything. Yeah, then I wrote Fennel Command emote exclamation mark blob or exclamation mark Fennel, which, to be fair, the Fennel Command went through. So at least from that last year's goals, that's good. So I don't know what my, so I guess, okay, so I have to talk about what would this year's goals be. Definitely Numnu needs to come back. What else would be good for next year? I would say more chat integrated / decision games. I don't know if I have that many other goals. I think our goals are mostly good. Oh, more subscriber badges. I need to do subscriber badges. I've been putting that off forever. Now that I have an artist that I would probably lean on for those, I could probably get those in. So we did get a new, like, redesign for our channel icon. So I might as well just finish it up with the Twitch stuff. I think overall, I don't really have anything else for this year's goals. Honestly, it's one of those things I think we're kind of where I want to be. So kind of blending into like what worked in this year's goals. Like I want to have the equivalency of games where chat can enter their names. We did something new in PSO. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to put it as something new in PSO. Like we did challenge mode for the first time. We did a bunch of things. The only thing we didn't end up really doing was kind of coming back to like a Rune Factory or like a Tales of game or a Etrian Odyssey. So I think if we get one of those games in, I think I'll be happy. So the way I kind of view it, last year's gold subscriber badges, find more play integrated games, co-op with it. Oh yeah, co-op with viewers. Actually, that's always a good one for the year. More co-op with viewers. Yeah, so some of these are kind of blended between different goals. Celebrate stream anniversary. I love that I wrote that because I forgot to do it one year. Kind of funny, actually. I mean, it's true. I did almost miss it again this year, but we happened to be streaming at the time, so we did technically do something for it. But I would say in terms of like what to expect, games for the future. I think we need a nice helping of good games and trash. We played too many good games. It makes doing the categories take too long. So we need the hottest trash garbage mixed in with good games. It makes us appreciate the good ones. I'm like, meanwhile, I'm bobbing my head to the Ghost Trick soundtrack. Such a good song. So yeah, we're gonna be playing potentially a whole bunch of train wrecks in 2025. Pretty much immediately in January, we're doing Ni no Kune. So get ready, chat, for the tutorial counter. It's coming back. We're dusting it off. I gotta set up the counter thing again, just for that game. We're gonna get our revenge probably on Rogue Galaxy this year. I'm not sure if it'll fit in, but we might go and try Wild Arms 3. I don't know if it'll be a train wreck. I mean, it can't possibly be worse than the second game, right? Right? One would hope. Hopefully not. In terms of Halloween games, I guess I'll spoil these. Last year I kind of kept it kind of secretive, but honestly I don't see a reason to do it this year. Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. That's the Castlevania game there. We're gonna actually finish Dicey Dungeons. I want to be done with Dicey Dungeons. Disgaea 2 is definitely gonna be the big game that we play. If Penny Blood is done, it's been in early access forever. If they finish it, I will do it in Halloween. I've been waiting for it to leave early access. I have it. I don't want to touch it until they're done. I thought they were going to be done like last month, but they still weren't done. So I'm hoping there's excuse me, weird things going on with the company currently. Hopefully they finish it up. I don't know. Otherwise, potentially as a one-off for Halloween, we didn't end up doing it, but I wrote it down for a reminder that if I ever have like a free time, I'm not sure how to fill it, Tabletop Simulator, playing something like Zombicide. Otherwise, I want to see some mystery games. I think mystery games were somewhat popular on Twitch, maybe not so much on YouTube, but it was fun to get the chat involved. So even though they're not like quote-unquote chat integrated per se, I do want to try more mystery games. So I have listed The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles and Duck Detective: The Secret Salami. So I'm putting at least 2 on the list. They're noted. Now, ones where we can kind of go, should they be on the one-offs? Depending on the pace of the game, we have a whole bunch of things we could play for series and one-offs. So we'll start with the series. Etrian Odyssey 2. We've been putting it off for a while. I'd like to do some chat selected characters and just have that as like a little weekend thing. There's even a game series, Batten Kaitos. I think chat recommended me to try it at some point. I've never played it before, so I have no idea what to expect with that game, or if the game is worth playing, but we'll find out. I think this year, Euden Chronicles will be done. I'm actually gonna double check. The game is out of early access, but the problem is that they said they were gonna release DLC and all these other things, and they weren't ready when I was checking back in October. They kept saying, oh, we'll be done in the fall, and I'm like, well, it's October, and I don't see anything still. So hopefully, after we do a couple of series, we're gonna see a little bit of Euden Chronicles, because we could play their kind of short spin-off game for a little bit, which hopefully shouldn't take more than 3 or 4 sessions, ideally, before we go into the RPG. So hopefully by that time, within like the first 4 months of the year, they'll be ready. Otherwise, we have a lot of Rune Factory games we could do. Chat gets to name more characters. We also have Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, which I want to potentially put as a Halloween game. It would be a really good transition to go from like Rune Factory 3 or 4 to Sakuna of Rice of Ruin. The problem is figuring out how long those games are going to take, because those tend to take quite a while. But I think otherwise I have some one-offs that I'm going to put as question marks. So when we find ourselves with downtime on the weekends, these kinds of things might end up being played. The number one, 100% playing it this year, Gujian 3. I've been dying to play it, and I'm like, I just couldn't find a good time slot for it. We're playing Gujian 3. So we're gonna balance Ni no Kuni with Gujian 3. We're potentially gonna try Onimusha Warlords if we have some downtime. Depending on how long it takes for it to come out, Lunar Silver Star Story Remake is actually coming out on Steam. That's another traditional RPG. It technically might fit into the series. I'm not sure how many of the games they were doing as part of it, because it's technically part of a series. But if that ends up being ready by like June, July, we might see that game pop out. Chan also requested a long time ago Legend of Dragoon. I might try it, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of scared by like the 4-disc PS1 length. So that's not so much a one-off as much as it is a hard commitment. You know what I mean, chat? Like, we'll see if it fits in. If I'm in a really good mood, I will figure out how to play Sonic Adventure. It's on the list, but it is very low on that list. So let it be known, it has been written in. If I run out of things, it is technically there for me to consider. But I'm not going to make any promises on those. Yeah, Legend of Dragoon and Sonic Adventure are a big question mark in general, as is the remake. So I'm going to put question marks on the board there. I'm willing to go outside the comfort zone just to see it, experience it. I know very little about Sonic Adventure, so it'd be pretty blind in terms of playthroughs. But I think that covers everything, because we played, I don't know, like close to 25 games. We're looking at a more compact, like 23 or 24 here. Some of these are very short games, and some of these are just more suggestions to fill the slots. They're not guaranteed. So realistically, there's going to be about 15 that I think are guaranteed on this list. As all the Halloween games will play to completion, there's no doubt. If needed, they will go into December kind of things. And the train wrecks, other than Wild Arms 3, I think they're guaranteed at this point. So we got an interesting balance of things. I guess as a placeholder, we also have Tales of. So we might go back and play Berseria if chat wants it. Otherwise, there are a lot of Tales games we still haven't played. Chat saying it'd be interesting to see someone play that isn't blinded by nostalgia. Oh, I have no nostalgia. I'm like, I did not grow up on those games. I know very little about them. The only one I've seen probably in detail is Sonic 06. That's its own little thing. But anyway, chat, I think that covers basically everything I'm planning to do. Hopefully some of those things are things you're interested in. Oh, I didn't mention by name. I read it, but didn't say it out loud. Sansa Salzahar. If we end up doing like Mountain Blade as like a one-off, which I also didn't write there for some reason. If we end up doing Mountain Blade, we'll do a little bit of Sansa Salzahar, because I definitely want chat to compare them and see how interested they are. Since a lot of that is Sansa Salzahar lets you design your own character. I'm sure chat will give me some horrible, atrocious monstrosity as a protagonist that I will have to look at. But anyway, chat, I think that is the end of the retrospective. I got nothing else to really add there. So hopefully you enjoyed thinking back to some of those different events. We have some games potentially to pick up. Some of these are from like a while back. I know Yantos would probably be happy if I did Lunar, for example. But I think overall, chat, that's it for 2025. We ended 2024. We're now at the end of the stream, end of the retrospective. Thanks for sticking around. Hopefully those games are of interest to you. But I think for now, chat, let's say goodbye to both YouTube and the stream. If you've been enjoying the soundtrack, we're going to hopefully remember to put this in the YouTube link, but I basically did a massive playlist for all the games that we played in 2024. I might retroactively add Evo in there somewhere, just to give it a little shout out. I haven't decided. But for now, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good day or a good night, depending on the time zone, and welcome to 2025.